We have our first report card on the Trump tax cuts for corporations. Believe it or not, it has been 2 years since Donald Trump signed the tax cuts passed by the Republican-controlled Congress into law, which cut the U.S. corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. But according to a new report, 379 of America's Fortune 500 companies actually paid only a federal corporate income tax rate of 11.3%. And 91 of America's largest corporations, like Amazon and Chevron, paid no federal income taxes at all. Zero. Zilch. This is all according to a new report from the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy entitled Corporate Tax Avoidance in the First Year of the Trump Tax Law. Back with us to discuss this is John Harwood from CNBC. And joining us on the phone, David K. Johnston, former Pulitzer Prize-winning tax reporter for the New York Times. David, let me begin with you, if I may. Walk us through how the tax law, the Trump tax law, made it possible for at least 91 companies or 91 corporations not to be able to pay a single penny in federal income tax.
Well, the law did a number of things. It cut their tax rate by 40%. You and I didn't get anything close to a 40% reduction in our tax rate. It also allowed companies to immediately expense, that is, write off the costs of new capital investment in many cases. Not everybody. Restaurants got lost in the mix. But overall, you got to quickly write down the costs of new investments. And for capital-intensive companies, that is, companies like oil and manufacturing who are buying new capital equipment every year, it creates a much lower tax burden for them in the future. And we no longer tax American corporations on the profits that they earn overseas. And because of the way the law was done, it has encouraged companies to build more overseas rather than less, if they can find a tax haven to help them have tax-free profits overseas.
So to that point, John Harwood, has the president been able to sell his economic success or his economic stimulus based on his tax law to the average voter when, you know, they're not, as we just pointed out, corporations are not paying their fair share. They're not paying any federal income tax, and yet somehow he touts that the economy is doing very well.
Well, the strength of the economy probably helps him somewhat, but I don't think the tax law has added to that. We saw in the 2018 elections that was not a powerful weapon for Republicans to prevent Democrats from taking over the House. And the reason is everyone has seen, and they see it more now in 2019 than they did in 2018, Donald Trump and his aides made four basic assertions for the tax bill. One, we had lame 2% growth, that he was going to make the growth rate go up to 3% or more. It wasn't going to increase the deficit. It's going to put a lot of money in the hands of the middle class, and it wasn't going to provide a tax cut for the rich. Every one of those things has turned out to be nonsense. The growth rate is now back after a brief period of stimulus in 2018. The growth rate is now back at the 2% long-term level that he inherited from President Obama. The deficit's gone up, and we've seen that corporations have substantially reduced their tax bill. That doesn't mean lowering the corporate tax rate may not have been a good idea. We had a high nominal rate compared to the rest of the world, but of course they didn't close loopholes sufficient to pay for that finance, and that's why the deficit's gone up so much.
David, the argument that Republicans, in particular Trump, made was that if we reduce the tax burden on some of these companies are going to come back and invest in America. They're going to hire more workers. They're going to manufacture more. That, in turn, produces more results for the economy. Have you seen anything to support that or substantiate that?
No, it's not in the data either. A lot of the money companies saved was used to buy back stock, which increases the value of the remaining shares and increases the value of stock options for executives. And Eamon, I don't think we should talk about this as a tax cut because we're borrowing the money to pay for the shortfall. This is simply a future tax increase with interest in the meantime. It's not a tax cut. It's a tax increase that's been disguised to make you think it's a tax cut.
All right, David K. Johnston and John Harwood, thank you both for joining us this evening with that fascinating stuff.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.